Welcome back to another episode of Inseparable, the tale of brotherhood and a puppy's love. In the previous episode, Dan and Russ go camping, but quickly get lost as Russ searches for Baloo and takes a slip off a cliff. Danny sets out to find his brother and puppy. With every step, Baloo's heart thumped louder in his chest, like the beat of a drum. Lost and confused, small dancing lights like the embers of a fire started to illuminate the way forward. Baloo eventually found his way out from under the strange paths. The lights began to grow, and excited by this, he followed the lights, his heart warm and trusting that something good was near. Suddenly, jingles, like the jingles of bells, shattered the stillness, making Baloo's ears prick up. He froze, listening intently as the sound grew louder and more distinct. And then, from the hollow of an old tree stump, a brilliant light burst forth, blinding him momentarily. The light seemed to dance and flicker, casting eerie shadows across the forest floor. Baloo barked and backed away, unsure of what was happening, his fear compounded by the strange otherworldly glow that drew closer and closer. Baloo watched in wonder as the light transformed to a magnificent being with shimmering fur and glowing eyes. It was a dog, but in the form of a spirit. Baloo could hardly believe his eyes. The spirit smiled softly and introduced himself. "I am a guardian of the forest," he said. "May I accompany you through the woods?" Baloo couldn't believe his ears. He was really being offered the protection of a forest guardian. He nodded eagerly, and the two set off into the mysterious and unknown depths of the woods. While they were walking, Baloo asked, "What is your name?" And the spirit responded, "I am Duke." "How did you get here?" Baloo asked. "I got lost in these woods many years ago," said Duke. "Well, why do you look the way you do?" With a sigh, Duke returned to Baloo and said, "This has been my home since I was lost. I was taken in by the forest and friendly creatures that live here. One day when I grew quite old, I fell asleep and awoke as a spirit. I remain here to look over and care for the forest." Baloo could feel that Duke had a warm heart. Duke led Baloo through the woods, illuminating the path before him, showing him many magical secrets of the forest. As Danny pushed forward in search for Kevin and Baloo, his heart raced with anticipation. Pressing on through the thick forest, he searched for any clue. He called out, "Russ! Baloo!" over and over, but the only response was the sound of crickets and rustling leaves. He frequently stumbled over fallen branches, the darkness encompassing him, making it difficult to see. With each passing minute, his worry grew. But just as Danny was starting to lose hope, feeling lost and disoriented, he heard a rustling in the trees above him. Looking up, he saw an image flying in the sky, watching him with piercing eyes. It was an owl that had been watching over the forest for years and knew every inch of the woods like the back of its wing. The owl hooted softly and flew down to a lower branch, beckoning the brother to follow. Trusting the owl's guidance, Danny carried the owl on his arm, and together they walked deeper into the woods, the owl leading the way with its sharp senses. Back at the cliff, on the edge of the ocean, Russ had fallen to the ledge. His heart raced as he struggled to catch his breath. He looked up at the steep cliff he had just fallen down from, shuddered at the thought of what could have happened. As he stood up, he felt bruised and battered, but he was amazed to be alive. As he looked around, he heard a noise as if it was thunder. He realized he was on a rocky ledge close to the crashing of the ocean waves. The few trees that hung to the seaside cliff were twisted and gnarled by the wind. Russ's mind began to race with questions. How had I ended up here? What caused me to fall? And most importantly, where was Baloo? Russ's desperate call for his beloved puppy were drowned out in the wind. The only response he received was the haunting sound of waves crashing against the shore, with the occasional screech from a hawk's nest nearby. Russ's heart sank as he realized he was completely lost, and his body was racked with exhaustion and pain. He searched frantically for a way out, but there was no visible path to safety. With a heavy heart, Russ resigned himself to the fact that he would have to wait until sunrise, hoping for a miracle to save him and his faithful companion, Baloo. In the next episode, Baloo and Duke journey deeper into the forest as Danny gets clues in his search for Russ.